Hi, let's now try to replicate the same using Tableau. So we already saw how to create encode channels, marks and channels in Vegalite, D3, and Altair. So now let's take a look at how to do that in Tableau. So the first thing is opening the data in there. So I have it here as a CSV file. And then I have Tableau open, and I like dragging the file in here. And here is a nice feature of Tableau, is that it shows you a summary that actually happens to show me that there is some null values. I don't know if you remember in the D3 and Vegalite part, we filter those out to get good results. So when you open the data, then here are your attributes. You have your quantitative variables and your quantitative variables in here. So these are numeric and you can use for calculations, and these are the ones that you can use for doing slice and dice. So the first thing you can do is just dragging this here into the column. And then when you do that, then it's going to calculate what is the sum of all the big lengths. And it's only showing one mark. And Tableau is going to be choosing the best mark for you in most cases, depending on the order in which you select things. So this can be really useful. However, in order to replicate the chart that we had in D3 and Vegalite, that was something like this. We have some ways of doing that. So the easiest one is just going here into analysis and then say, I don't want measures to be aggregated. So when you do that, actually, it's going to show each one of the individual rows, which is exactly what we want. If you also had an ID or something that is a unique identifier, if you drag that into the detail, that is going to allow you to do exactly the same thing. And let me explore really quickly in here. Probably if you do it like this, no, this one is still aggregates. Okay, so this is going to be like a position in an aligned. And then for the next one, I actually don't know how to separate it like this, but in Tableau it's also very easy to separate it using an attribute. So actually let's duplicate this one. And then in here, the way of separating that is just by dragging the species. That is what we want to separate by. And then when you put it into the rows, or you can put it into the columns. And then again, it's doing the calculation, it's grouping things. And if you just separate things, then you get them like that. Something I forgot doing in here, let's disaggregate again, is that if you don't want things to start in 0, then you can just right click in the axis and then say, I don't want to include 0. That it's pretty similar. So, and as you can see, it's choosing that mark. Speaking of that, if you want to change the mark on a chart, you can always just go in here and then select a different type of mark. Again, Tableau is going to try to find the best one for you, so I recommend you leaving in automatic. But if you want to use a different one, you can always try like all of those in here, and some of them will make sense or not. If you want to change the shape or the size, you can also use these attributes in here. And then there's a ton of options you can play with. So this will be a position on a line. And then let's go to the next one. Like for instance, if you want to get the length, it's going to be something very similar. So let's duplicate this one. So again, we have the big length in here. And then the key is actually just separating for each one of the elements. So I'm hoping this will work in here. Yes, that's what I want. So index, it's a function. It's a little complicated function, but it returns like the row number. I could have used that for separating things in the order chart too, but the problem is that when you do that, the index can also be computed depending on what you're using for aggregation. So it's tricky, but in this case, it's actually working very well. And the way that we can make this to be actually the length, I think if we make it like this and making sure that this one is categorical, that seems to be what we want, something like that. Okay, so again, Tableau will choose depending on what mark you have and the type of attributes. It's going to choose how to compute that. In an easier way, the other way you could do this is just by saying, like for instance, I want to see the lengths for the species, and then in this case, you have to make sure to specify a good aggregation for it. So be careful with that. So Tableau in that sense is a little bit deceiving because some things are very easy, but at the same time you could be creating a wrong chart. So this could be, we can name this length. Let's go to the next one. So tilt, I'm not sure even if we can do this, but I'm still going to try. So let's come in here, and then I know you can try doing pies. This one is trying to create the separation. But yeah, the way that pies usually work, and then they can tell you even in here, is that you need one dimension. So it's the one that you're going to use for separating, and then the measurements. So I wonder if I leave it like this and then do this. Yeah, this is kind of like the closest I can get, and it's still doing the stacking. So I'm not sure. I'm going to come back on this, but I'm going to give up on this one because I don't think it's possible to do that one in Tableau. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Okay, for area, this one it's easy as well. So if we come back in here and let's say we duplicate this one, so we have already that one in there, and then you just drag that here into size, and then as you can see, it's using a very similar size for all of them. So I think we can make this a little bit bigger, or at the very least, because like this will be an interesting one. If you actually remove that from here, yes, Tableau is going to choose to use the size, and then if you say you want to use circles, then it's going to encode it like this. I think you might be able also to change some of the attributes in here. In this case, let's leave it like that so we don't make the video too long. So this could be like the size, and to make it like exactly the same that we had before, it will be something like this. It just bothers me that yeah, that's better. That's what I was looking for. So as you can see, that sometimes you just need to know where to click in Tableau to get the things as you like them. That's for area, color, luminance, and saturation. At the very least, I'm sure that we can do saturation more or less easily. So we can duplicate this, and then it's the same trick. Instead of putting it in here, just put it into the color. So this one will be the one for saturation. We can edit this axis. I don't want to see the 0. So that will be for saturation. And if, let's see if we can do the same with brightness, because it will be just a matter of changing the color scale. So you can come in here and edit the colors, and there we go. And you also have a grayscale, and this is kind of like changing the perception. With Tableau, you can also, it's doing something very similar to what Vega Light did, or Altair, and is that it's choosing the best scales for you. So since the big length is a continuous scale or a quantitative scale, then it's using a continuous color scale. If you want to use like multiple colors and things like that, it's just a matter of telling Tableau, like, hey, actually, I want you to think that this is not a continuous, but a discrete measure, and then it is going to choose an appropriate visualization for that. So this is going to be brightness. Hope I wrote that right. What else do we have in here? Curvature. I don't think this one is either possible. Although Tableau included recently a little bit better shapes and things like that, but I'm going to give up on that one as well. And then let's go to the categorical ones. So you already saw partially how to do spatial region. Like spatial region is just a matter in Tableau of dragging what you want, like in this case, a species. And then if you drag another thing, then it's going to be aggregating by that thing. So again, if we want to create something similar to what we had before, it will be something like this. So this is spatial separation. And then if you want to duplicate this with color, then again, it's just a matter of dragging that into color. And since this is a categorical attribute, then it's also going to guess that. One of the beauty of Tableau is that you can actually come in here and say edit colors, and then you can select different colors if you want manually, which is extremely convenient, and it's something that you should do many times, like you just want things to match, like the colors, like maybe there is a reason for thinking that these type of penguins have that type of color, so you can do that in there as well. So this will be like color hue. Animation you definitely cannot do. So I'm going to give up on that one, like this motion. The latest versions of Tableau include some animation, but at least not in that sense. And shape is also another one that is very easy to do in Tableau. So you just come in here and then same thing, just drag that in here and then you get it, okay? So as you can see, it's way easier to do it in here, but it's way more restrictive. So it's always a balance of choosing the right tool for the job.